I'm Brianna. This is Bo. I write books and make posts about writing, querying, and publishing. He just sits here and looks cute. When I talk publishing or I post about publishing, I usually talk about my experiences along the trade or traditional publishing route, but I wanted to highlight a different path to publication, which is self-pub. So I talked with two self-published or indie authors about their experience. Taya Verdone writes romantic stories about imperfect people haunted by inner demons and dark histories. S. Jean, also known as Renove, is a queer sci-fi and fantasy author writing whatever strikes their fancy at any given moment. This is part 2 of our talk, so if you haven't checked out part 1, that is linked below. As a reminder, all of my posts are available in both written form and video. So if the audiovisual version of this is not your thing, there is a transcribed version of our conversation available over on my Substack, which is also linked below. So let's get started. Here's part 2 of our talk. So I'm going to jump right back into questions. So in part 1 of the talk, we kind of discussed what made you decide to go this route, what it's kind of looked like for you. So now that you've done this, looking back on your experience, what do you feel like have been kind of your biggest wins or the biggest advantages for you, and what have been the biggest challenges?
I can go first, I suppose. Okay, for me, the biggest wins have been all the readers that, I've connected with. I never expected to be making like friendships, and just it's really cool to see, what they love about my writing and them, being there for me as I'm trying to write the next one. And then, but the single biggest thing I feel like would be I made like a group with like all of us starting around the same time, like indie authors in our subgenre, and we become so close in like helping each other figure it all out, and just supporting each other. It's been really special. And then for challenges, for me, I've been sick a lot of the year and I can't write very well. So I think that's I feel like I'm getting lapped, I guess, by all my friends are like releasing like
Oh,
2 or 3 books since, and I'm still like I've literally been working on this manuscript for just over a year, and it's kind of soul crushing to say the year thing. But
oh,
that's
you're doing
my
fine. I
someday I
believe
will
in you.
finish it. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
So for my biggest win, I think it's basically just making a lot of friends because when I was querying, I didn't actually make a lot of friends until like towards the end. Like I have like 3 people that I still talk to after, going through all the querying, and now after self-publishing, I've made a lot more friends because I just happen to be there and they're there too, and we're friends because we're both self-publishing and it's really nice. And of course, my biggest challenge is hoping people, just this little voice in my head that thinks everybody thinks I'm annoying because I keep trying to sell my books and I just, have to squash that every so often.
Yeah, that's hard to get over. Someone told me who like does PR that like they have to see it at least 3 to 5 times before they retain it and want to buy it. So I don't know
Exactly.
if
So
that
that's,
helps at all.
yeah, that's what I keep telling myself. But part of my brain is like, no, they're going to find you annoying because, it's there all the time. It's like, no, no, that's just what I have to do.
Yeah, I
So
feel
I
totally
see
expect.
all of your posts on
Oh,
for
good.
both of you, and I think they're fun every time. And like, oh, you put
Okay,
something
that,
else up about like there, here's like a snippet, or here's even just like here's some details about when it's coming out or any of that. So like I don't find them annoying. I think it's fun because also like if you think about it, like when you look at your own page, you just see like how many times you've
oh,
posted,
yeah.
but like anyone else, like I'm seeing you along with a bunch of other authors, and so I'm like, oh, that's like I recognize that one, and so I
Yeah.
like seeing things that I recognize
Okay, good.
pop up again. So yeah, just on like the other side of that, I don't think other people perceive that as super annoying unless you're doing like 50 posts a day and like spamming their feed kind of thing.
Yeah, then
That'd
the
be a lot.
algo is gonna punish you anyways, so
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't annoy anyone if you're oh yeah. I feel like I was gonna say something with what you said before, but now I don't know. It's kind of gone. Tragic.
If it comes back
I
to you.
thought,
Yeah.
Um, So the idea of success is something that varies a lot from different author to author. And so when you kind of started out, did you have this like benchmark or this vision of like what success looked like? And then also did that change once you got started or once you were kind of in it?
So, before I did all the book stuff, I made little, indie video games, and
Cool.
from there, the success would be like obviously people coming back for the next game and being really excited when I do something else. And so I basically just applied that to books, which I've had because I've noticed a lot of return names who like to read my arcs or people who have ordered signed copies from me. And I figured like that part's the success because I have readers that keep returning to me, even though my genre is not as like I write a lot, a different like sci-fi and fantasy instead of just picking one, or I don't even write any series. So it's nice that they
Mhm.
keep coming back no matter what I'm writing. And I think that's a really nice, a successful feeling.
Yeah, that's really cool for sure to have repeat customers,
Yeah.
that they're not putting
I
you
don't want to say
down.
repeat customers, but yes.
Repeat readers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, for me, for the theme of my book, Never Leave, Never Lie, it's kind of about overcoming really dark depression and learning to love and forgive yourself. So for me, kind of the reason I queried even was I just wanted people to see it and feel seen by it and less alone. So I always like tell my readers like from day one, I feel like I, achieved that because I feel like a lot of people have, felt comforted by my super sad story that does eventually have a happy ending. Um, yeah, and everything else is just extra. I guess I don't make bigger goals. I had like one, I wanted to have a certain amount of page reads by a year, so that's kind of it. But otherwise, that was just more for like fun. I don't know.
I like tiny goals. They're more achievable, and so you feel more successful.
Yeah, exactly.
So across everything, I am always in awe of the amount of work that authors do. Like indie authors do so much for their books. So what is something that you think many people don't realize is something that you do for self-publishing, either,
That
in
is
terms of
a
work
lot
or
of
money?
hard work. I don't think a lot of people realize how much hard work it will be when they first start out. They're like, oh look, I wrote a novel. That's all I have to do, right? And it's like, no, there's a lot of other things you can do too. You could just throw it up on a storefront and let it be that, but it might not do very well. So I
Right.
think a lot of people just sometimes people don't understand just how much work it is, and sometimes they don't want to apply themselves. So you just have to understand it's a lot of work, and but as the more you put into it, the more readers are going to find you, especially if you keep at it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. For me, I feel like I had a lot of paralysis before. I don't know if I'm just realizing as I said that is that ableist language. I just struggled to start before because it seems so scary. Like once you self-publish, then you're never going to get a traditional book
Oh
deal with
yeah.
that. Like you have to commit. Are you really, going to throw this book away? And maybe I feel like there's a lot of voices kind of making me feel that way. But it's actually not as scary as it seemed. So it's worth it if you, are okay with taking that risk and like, indie is your goal. I say go for it. And
Yeah.
it's been, rewarding. But yeah, it's like a ton of work. That's true.
I feel like a lot of people think of like self-publishing as like the easy route. And
No,
like
it's
having
not.
talked to an indie author, like it is, I do not think it is the easy route. It is like a a different kind of work, but it's definitely like still a lot of stuff that you are doing.
Yeah,
Um,
unless their goal is literally just put it up on a storefront and then walk away, then it is incredibly easy.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, my great uncle does his like own little thing in his corner, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's like just my mom who reads your books, but like he's happy with it, so that works
Oh,
for him.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I think if you are looking to have a broader, reader base or something, then you
Yeah,
have to find them somewhere.
yeah,
somewhere maybe they're
totally.
under a rock somewhere. You don't know.
Correct.
Yeah, I will say I think it's like all hard, I guess, because even traditional
Yeah.
authors have to do, like you said, more and more marketing and then, dealing with all the collaboration with other people. So, yeah.
Yeah. I have not gotten used to this idea of like other people setting timelines for me, which I think is something that like indie authors have a little bit more flexibility of like, or I guess more control over that.
Well,
And
sometimes, like if you want an editor who has a very specific timeline, you still have to like work your schedule around them and vice versa.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I think there's like a cliche, like the author artist who's like precious about their work. And I feel like I do struggle with that too sometimes. Like, I'm very happy with how all like my special editions and we're like working on an audiobook coming out, but it's like so hard for me to like, just pass off that to my, words. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense because they're your words. You're like, no, they're mine.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
You pour so much of yourself into the writing process to then
Yeah.
be like, all right, now this book kind of belongs to more people than just me.
Mhm.
Right. So true.
What is something that you wish you knew before you started self-publishing?
Hmm. I guess it would have been cool to know that it would have worked out okay.
Yeah.
Going in to take the stress off. Yeah, I don't know. I guess uh, that's a hard one. I looked at the questions ahead of time. I don't know. Maybe Renove should answer, and maybe I'll think of
Oh,
something else.
I'm completely blanking out on this one because I forgot this was a question.
That's fair. That's all right.
Yeah.
And maybe this,
Oh,
maybe
I
my next question
have
kind
one.
of, okay, go ahead.
I do. A really good one. Do not read your reviews. Do
Oh
not.
yeah, just don't. Nope,
Yes.
don't do
People
it.
struggle with it so much, and it's like, yes, okay, you could read your arcs, sure. If you can tell already though it's going to be a mean-spirited one, you should just like not
You
even
should just
continue
not.
to read. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like we all go through this like phase of like hurting your own feelings all the time by going and reading them.
Yeah,
And then
you don't need to do that to
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Like on Goodreads, I put a filter on my ad blocker to basically block any ratings or reviews under a certain threshold because I'm like, no, I'm gonna read them and feel bad about myself. But I shouldn't do that because it doesn't matter. I should just not even be there. But I just, yeah,
Right.
reading your own reviews is just not good for you.
Yeah, and that piggybacks to like another thing, like if you're just starting out when it relates to reviews and like how people consume your book, like if people hate it, that doesn't mean it's bad. It means they're
Yeah,
not your reader. So you just
exactly.
need to find your reader who will love it.
Yeah. And you shouldn't read all the bad reviews just looking for your, your ideal reader. You should just get
Totally.
off the review site and, just find them by just talking about your book. They will find you.
Mhm.
What you said, Tick, just also makes me think of querying, where like we spend all our time thinking about rejections, and
Mhm.
that like that's a determinant of the quality of books, but like querying is not. I mean, there is an element of book quality in there, but like
You would hope so, but it's really,
there's so much luck involved. There's so
Yeah.
much just like right eyes, right time, and I feel like it's
Mhm.
really easy to like have that mental health crash of like all
Mhm.
of my writing is terrible or like there's nothing good in here, but like it's the same thing as reading like only the negative reviews.
yeah,
You're okay, that person is not your audience. That
exactly.
agent is not your
Mhm.
audience either. So
Yeah, it gets, I guess, better with time. I don't know, you get used to it.
Yeah. Eventually, at some point, you'll feel confident enough. You're like, I don't need to read those anymore. We're good.
yeah. So I guess that kind of rolls into my last question, which maybe this is really the same question reworded, but if there's like an author who is considering self-publishing or they're thinking of going kind of the indie route, what advice do you have for them?
Think my main advice is because I see this around all the time is if you're the kind of person that talks yourself down, you have to get yourself out of the habit because it's not it doesn't help your brain. It doesn't help you find, readers, and it definitely doesn't help you sell books. You just have to think, you have to try to, do your best to be fake confidence or have actual real confidence in yourself because it
Actually
will
make
help
it.
it will help a lot.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is so lame.
Yeah, we should just beat it up.
Yeah, if only. For me, I would say that put yourself out there and connect with other indie authors. They're so welcoming. It's not really a competitive thing for the most part. I haven't met anyone who's like trying to gatekeep information. So like complimenting, other authors, in again like a organic, genuine way, and
Yeah.
just building those connections and you know you're not just taking from other people too, you're, giving advice to other people as well and answering their questions and whatnot. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and even like building off that too. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you can still be friendly with everybody. There's no reason to be
Yeah,
mean to your other self-published authors.
totally. There's like plenty of, room to go around. It's not
Yeah.
like with querying, I guess,
Yeah.
we're not, all fighting for spots. Even then, it didn't feel like we were fighting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do think it's really easy, especially starting out though, for authors to get in that mindset of like I'm in competition with everyone else instead of like other people are my potential allies who will like help
Yeah.
me in this and we can help each other rather than competing.
Yeah.
Which is also
Yeah.
how I feel about the like trad pub, self pub like divide. It doesn't
Mhm.
actually have to be like an either or. Like you can read books by both types of authors. You can, find your readers wherever. So
Mhm.
I don't love that like competitive mindset that some people I think starting out get to. I think it does kind of wear off sometimes after a while, but
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, it may be more on the Chad Pub side. I mean, I do remember seeing like that discourse on like Twitter, I guess, about it every once in a while. But on the indie side, I don't know if I'm like so enmeshed with indies, but even then, I don't hear them, complaining about Trad Pub really. So yeah, I think if you find like-minded people, they're not gonna, everyone can recognize that it's difficult for the other person in different ways, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that I could self-pub. I don't think I could do that much work.
Aw.
But I'm sure if I like tried, I would figure it out eventually. But I think I have that same like what you were saying, Kay, of like starting out where you're like, it would be nice to know like from the start that it was gonna succeed. And I don't know about that. So
Yeah, it's totally like such a big time sink for sure. And you're like you said, if it doesn't work out, then, but I think it's worth the attempt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean you both have books out there. Like you to me, like someone reading your book who you don't know and who like just saw it and was like, this looks interesting.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like that's a metric of success.
So I work at a library and I of course give my books to my library because of course I'm going to. And I think
Mhm.
the happiest moment I had with somebody who saw my book was this teenager who saw my book and was really excited and said, "Oh my God, I've been waiting for this one." And I'm like,
Aw.
"Excuse me." So that was really nice to feel.
So cool.
That's
That is
awesome.
amazing.
I love that you work at a library too.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really cool.
fun. I get to see a lot of books.
Mhm. Nice.
That is all of my actual questions for you. Unless you have any other closing thoughts or something you forgot to say earlier.
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah. No,
Otherwise, thank
thanks.
you both for joining me, for sharing about your experiences.
Mhm.
Uh, and then before we go, again, what is the best place for people to find you and or your work? And also, do you want to promote anything upcoming? Ronobe, that's also a question for you.
Oh gosh.
Promote yourself.
Uh, you can find my stuff mostly on, a lot of storefronts, but mostly I like to use the HEO. So anywhere that has Earl Renove and it's a social media, you can find me there. I have a book coming out in April, April 22nd, about a
Exciting.
guy who gets angel wings and he really, really didn't want them. So it's the story of how he goes through figuring out what he wants to do with his life after getting them.
That sounds really cool.
Thank you.
Exciting. Okay, for me, I'm TayaVerdone.com or that same name anywhere except for Twitter, whatever it is now. And then me, my book that I've been working on for over a year, and that hasn't made it more of a masterpiece, it's just made it take more time. It's supposed to come out like, I don't know, it's supposed to come out in the fall last year, but it's coming out this year no matter what, okay?
I believe in
Yeah, and
you.
thanks. Yeah, it has to. I don't know. But anyways, it's like another modern gothic romance, romance. I don't know. I don't want to like just talk about it forever. But hurt, comfort, angst, there'll be a happy ending. I'm sorry, it was like muted.
Um,
I hear you now. I don't know why.
I know I saw it at one point, but I don't remember the title for that one.
Oh yeah, I should say what the title is. It's What Death Forgets. And you can find it, like you could add it on Goodreads if you want to. Someday it will tell you that the book was published, maybe.
Great. I will put links for that and the titles of both those books below the video. And then thank you guys again. Good luck
Yeah,
with your
thank
upcoming
you.
books.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was so fun.
Thanks for watching. I really enjoyed talking to these two, and I hope you found this as informative and interesting as I did. If so, drop a comment and or like this video. Let us know your thoughts. You can also subscribe to know when my future videos come out, or if you prefer, you can go over to my Substack and subscribe there for the written versions of my posts as well. If you missed it when I mentioned a couple times at the beginning, this was part 2 of our talk. So if you missed part 1, you can go watch that. I have linked that as well. And that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. Bye.